Scott.
Nicole Clement.
Debbie.
Cooley.
Catherine. Nicole J. All righty. Setting alarm. You guys just want to take turns reading questions?
Which one's the first one?
Number 1. Discuss and evaluate each of the 3 theories of workplace discrimination: human capital theory, gender socialization theory, and genderized organization theory.
In the one of the guys article.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no.
One's here.
What's that?
It's on page 35. No.
387.
386.
It's
It's
35.
35 on the heading. I was like, wait, that's not right.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it again?
Mm-hmm.
Discuss and evaluate each of the 3 theories of workplace discrimination: human capital theory, gender socialization theory, and gendered organization theory. Okay, so human capital theory.
It's a neutral environment.
I don't remember where that's at.
It's on 387, at the corner.
You know, I really should
Oh.
highlight.
Thank you.
Think about that.
I mean, it's just saying that it's a neutral environment that, rewards workers for what they put into it, but it's saying that women are more likely to work less because they're going to take time off for, work and children, while men don't really have to do that, and so they'll keep working.
Mm.
And so I guess that's, human capital, as in they're,
The discrepancy
Yeah,
between gender.
right in the work environment in that way. And that's why it's saying that's where the discrimination happens, but the discrimination happens in skill and experience. It just happens that women don't have much experience or skill because they're taking time off, and it says that it's a good theory, but it doesn't explain why men and women who have the same experience, the same degree,
Right.
are
Have different
getting
standards.
treated
Mhm.
the same, I guess.
Okay. The second one.
Gender socialization theory.
That's pretty much just you learn your gender roles and then seek out jobs that reinforce those gender roles.
Yes.
And the third one. Gender organization theory.
It's basically that men's advantages in the workplace are maintained and reproduced, and gender expectations that are embedded in organizations and interactions between employers, employees, and coworkers.
Yeah.
People at the top get to remain at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that
America.
last one's a culmination of the first.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking too.
So,
It's kind of like a blurred line.
mhm.
Yeah, because you
Between the
can
two.
pick off of that, the top, the people at the top who are made on top, men are always going to be at top, to remove that back to the human capital. The gender discrepancy.
And then feminine traits and masculine traits being incorporated, stereotypes.
Right.
That's the gender socialization. So I think that last one's because of the other two. We now have this.
And then the second one that can tie into lack of representation. I mean, if there's not going to be women at the top, you're not going to think that, hey, this is something that I can do as a woman, because you don't see that happening.
Yeah.
How does the outsider within offer a unique perspective on gender workplace disparities?
Less egocentric. You have more of an open mind. Outside, you're from the outside looking in, obviously. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Because it was trans men, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was they entered the workplace when they were women,
Right.
and then they continued when they were men, and so they have that they have both experiences. But I'm kind of wouldn't also trans women also offer the same outsider in perspective? Because I guess for trans men, you're going from like the quote unquote like submissive to like the dominant group, but then for trans women, you're going from the dominant group and then dropping down. So I feel like both ways it's an outside-in perspective.
I feel like both are very beneficial to the feminine aspect. Not in not in a negative way of saying that, but both of those transitions are both very beneficial to the matriarchal kind of society or part of society instead of the patriarchal part of society. I mean, they did say that we are going through a change into the matriarchal society. This is the year that we're going through a change.
What were the key gender advantages and disadvantages experienced in the workplace by trans men? I think it was like one of them that was just like they are still looked at as lower.
It's right. It's on page 391.
Yeah, I was talking about like they're still like that, like the regular guy thing. Like they're still not looked as like
A full man.
yeah, like they'll never have that.
Right.
You know, they'll never be looked upon as like a man.
Because they weren't born into
Right.
it. Right.
So,
Right. I know what you're talking about.
and I guess that's a disadvantage, I guess, and that, you know, they're always going to be shut out from wanting to be
It's saying like not being born into it can make visible how gendered workplace disparities are created and maintained through interactions.
And one of the advantages is, Carl, I think, was talking about how because he was raised for 18 years as a female, he sees things differently, so you can like take different sides in the workplace. Like he was talking about how girls couldn't get their forklift license without it taking so long, and the pay gap and stuff, and how they work really hard, but they don't get the that works.
word
That men do in the workplace.
Right.
And so that's something that he can see because he's not on both sides of the situation. Or I guess that could be a disadvantage as well, depending on which way.
I think there's like a lot of like because there was a lot of men have more respect in the workplace, and also they can get away with more, and they're automatically assumed as like the authority like figure. Because I think there was like one case where it was like a domestic violence conference or something like that, and then they had I guess she's a he now, so they had him speak or another man speak when it was all one like full of women on like domestic violence in women, and so it was like of all people like a man's up there speaking about women suffering in domestic violence, and just little things like that. Like a lot of apparently some of the people in this, I think they return to the same job, but people treat them completely differently, and it's like, oh, like women are, they don't ask some questions, or when they did, it was you asking a question because you're confused, but as a man, you're asking because you want to know more, and just little things like that. You can do the exact same thing, but perception is different just because of your gender, which is odd.
That kind of reminds me of there's a doctor somewhere in Western North Carolina who is transitioning to a woman, and she sent out notifications to all her patients.
Oh,
like,
I remember that. Yeah.
And she's like, "This is what's happening. If you have any questions, we will be holding a meeting. That way, you can be comfortable with me still treating your child." And some people were like, "No, that's not okay. I wanted my child to have a male doctor." She's like, "You can get a male doctor anywhere." So it was really interesting. It was really nice to see like how much support she was actually getting. Like most of her patients were like, "Yeah, this is great, go you." But to think that she's still staying professional, just as qualified as she was before, she's just
has a different
changed. Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, it goes back to that to go back to that point
Blind
about
to it.
about they're still not going to get the same respect as like being in like the gender, it's like, you know, in like Orange is the New Black, like Sophia's role in that, you know, Laverne Cox's role, like where she was trying to get the hormonal medication and they were like, no, like whatever. But then like sister, like the nun, she was getting her hormonal medication and there was no difference in that. But like for hers was like, oh no, you'll deal type of thing, you know, or like, you know, like screw up in the medication thing. But still, I mean, like it was just like showing that aspect of it. Like it doesn't matter like how much you work, like there's still gonna be like this like you don't need it. Like the discrimination of like you don't need it.
It was kind of interesting though that, like for the trans men that like people knew that he like transitioned. They didn't like he was still treated the same, especially with like gender pronouns and stuff like that. Just because people like in their minds, I guess he's still a she and stuff like that.
Right.
And other people while other trans men thought that like race and also even stuff like height and age also played an impact on how they were treated. Like
It's found any and every way too.
because there are stereotypes with everything. If you're younger, because like older men are seen as more wise and more confident, and so they're treated differently, I guess.
Right.
So it was just interesting because I guess I didn't really think about that compared to like pay gaps and how women are treated differently.
Right.
Like because if a woman, I think it said like before I was considered assertive, but now I'm considered take charge because I'm a man.
Right.
People
And
actually listen.
there was like one of the comments she said about post transition, or exemplifying, what is she talking about? Gender attribution, undergoing a change in gender attribution. Exemplifying this, Preston's report about his views on gender's differences at work post transition. I don't know. And it says, I swear they let the guys get away with so much stuff. Lazy ass bastards get away with so much stuff, and the women who are working hard just get ignored. ... I'm really aware of it, and it just keeps going. And I was just like, wow, like a person that's been on both sides of the fence, well, the binary, should I say, both sides of the binary, can tell you that there's still something wrong, and we're not changing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel that's the problem.
Okay, number 4. Which findings and articles surprised you? Why?
I mean, this kind of goes back to everything else we've read in this class and just kind of reinforcing the gender binary suck. Kind of thing.
I think the only thing that surprises me is like how right Dr. Honeycutt was when she says all these places that we relate with or whatever are gendered institutions, basically, and they all have these prerequisites. Why can I speak? Prerequisites for the binary, I guess, or for the system.
Mm-hmm. It's not really surprising, but it's interesting to see how, like, when you change yourself, so like, from a woman to a male, and it's just like a complete switch of how he's treated, and like to be able to say like this is happening, and we're still not doing anything about it.
Yeah. But I feel like this is the new beginnings.
Yeah.
The beginnings of something great.
Yeah, I don't think anything like surprised me
Right.
because I've like taken so many sociology classes and I know that like race, class, gender, like everything plays a part in everything because we live in like such a messed up society where everything's there's a lot of socialization and privilege and all that discrimination. But it was just interesting that I think the most shocking thing was that honestly, they're the same people, same qualifications, same everything, but they return to the same job just because now she's a he, and like the outward appearance. And because honestly, like they were probably feeling exactly like what, like a male the entire time. But just because, the performance of gender is playing a part, they were treated differently from the outside, which is completely strange. But I think
the book bags cover.
right. I think there was a lot. It's a lot of like the whole gender performance
Right.
thing, and like what you said about.
It's all the social construction
Mhm.
of what we should and should
Right.
not be.
I think that was helping in our shopping
I agree though. Like seeing them come back into the place and just getting treated completely different when they're the exact same person.
Yeah.
thing.
I also think there's not just you have to be white male to have this store. You have to have like specific age requirements, height requirements, and you have to have like aggression, and you have to have this, like really specific.
Right. You have to fit into the box of male
Yeah.
and the box of female.
Yeah.
And like the right kind
Mhm.
of male and female, because if not, then
Right. Like I feel like we do have a spectrum for our socialized genders, but the spectrum is still the binary, but the spectrum is you're this kind of man or this kind of man frowned upon. You're this kind of woman or this kind of woman frowned upon. You know.
yep.
So it's like we acknowledge the spectrum as long as it's within the binary.
Right.
Mhm.
We won't have the whole fluidity thing, but we'll have this section to this section. You can fall anywhere in this section, but we'd like it if you were over here.
But I still think that's like a relatively new concept. It's something that's coming together still. You know, it's not like I said. I feel like this is just the beginning. Like we're going where we need to go.
But we just like scale. Like we make the Kenzie scale, follow that scale, we follow which scale we fall in, what perspective. So.
Okay.
Like,
Next article, it's a yearning for lightness article, which is on page 100. If you're looking at the headings, it's 11. Do you want to read the first one?
What social and historical practices is the desire for white skin rooted in? How is it gendered?
Sorry.
Sure. What social and historical practices is the desire for white skin rooted in? How is it gendered?
Well, the practice is skin lightening. So
Right.
it's probably gendered because there are
Giving this much.
historically more, not more, but difficult standards for women to reach to be beautiful.
I mean, the only thing I can think of right now is like, from what I see, is from Beyonce from 1990s, from Beyonce now. Beyonce does not look the same as she did. She's very whitewashed now. I think she's just like it's probably all lighting, but it's just she's so light that I'm like, not that it's wrong to be white or black or whatever, but I'm just like, what are you doing? I was like, you're not helping your case now.
It's also like in billboards and stuff, they're always like photoshopped to like look really light skin.
Yeah, they're whitewashed. Or like
Why?
Carrie
Why?
Washington. Do you know who Carrie Washington is?
Yes.
Scandal.
yes.
Yes. She did a cover of I think some magazine.
remember,
I don't
it
know.
was after her
And
pregnancy.
they black and white, like they put her in black and white to whitewash her to make her
They
look
did
like
the
she was a
Mindy
white woman.
Kaling as well.
Yeah,
Mindy
that's,
Kaling's first cover photo was, she's the only Indian American
Right.
actress, and she was like black and white photo.
right. And I feel like that's one of their little tricks of the trade that gets them.
I mean, I think it's kind of, I mean, all of them, because there's like Africa, and there's like African Americans, and there's like Indians,
Right.
and like Southeast Asians,
Latin American and
like East Asia. There's like a whole bunch of different areas, but I think a lot of it is due to colonialism,
Right.
because when it was time of colonialism, it was mainly like white Europeans, and so and they were like the dominant group, and so being white was considered beneficial and just better. And so even after like colonialism ended, that kind of cultural aspect I think still like lingered throughout history, and it just kind of changed into and like went into like the cosmetics thing and stuff like that. But I think it's definitely due to colonialism and then like ethnocentrism on like
We got kind of
part
stuck. I feel like I agree.
Mhm.
We just kind of accepted it for as it was and didn't even try to contest it anymore.
would make sense for it to all start from colonialism because the people in power are white people.
Right.
If you want to be in power, you're going to try to mirror what you see.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, in our intro to gender class, we talked about instead of like the people who aren't in power trying to band together, it's like instead of you try to mimic your oppressors and be like your oppressors. And so it just happened that during colonialism, and even now, the oppressors are white. And so you want to be like the oppressors and be in power. And so, you know, skin lightening makes you whiter. But I think it's, I don't know, I'm kind of, I mean, the article made it seem like it's mainly women who are participating, but I'm kind of wondering if it's also men. It just wasn't included in the article.
I'm sure it is.
But it's made it seem like it's gendered more towards women. But I feel like,
I mean, especially like if you like media references, and you see, you know, black actors, they don't tend to be whitewashed as much as women because they have the advantage of being a man.
I don't think so.
Like
It's a great looking man.
like you know, like Will Smith or Denzel Washington, like they're all relatively dark men, and you don't
Well,
tend to
that's
see
really
that.
light skin though.
It's-
Trans on.
So it's just you don't see that as often. Like not saying it doesn't happen, but it's definitely not as prevalent.
Yeah,
It just
I agree.
reminds me of like Michael Jackson. He has a skin
Yeah.
condition, but for some reason we don't like.
Nobody listens to his songs
Yeah,
after 2002,
we
man.
don't admit that
Nobody.
he has a skin condition.
Right.
It's just like, oh, he wants to be white.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like,
But no, he has a skin condition.
I'm like from India, so I'm waiting on number 6. Just want to throw that out there.
okay,
So what?
moving
I'm from
on.
India, which is why number 6 I'm waiting for that.
Passionate.
And so I'm ready to go.
Ready.
You already hit the hit, like nail on the head on the other part. I'm ready to go.
All right. What has been the trend in the use of skin lighteners in the various parts of the world covered in this article? India, Latin America, etc. What drives the use of skin lighteners?
Let me tell you guys.
Please
Story.
enculturate us.
Okay, so I'm from India, and it you know, it's just what you guys were talking about anyway as well, like colonial, like the British was ruling over India in 1947 we got our independence, and it literally has always been white people, men in India, and then women. So it's just we're always in the bottom. Like even just like the couple white people that are still there in India, they still get top pick for everything, right?
Yeah.
So, and then like it's like we see like white people that'll come to India and they'll like feel like Indianized or something like that. We're just like, oh my god, like we love you guys. Like we're still like giving so much importance to that.
Right.
But growing up, so I was like the darkest child, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, growing up, I realized that my friends here, they actually wanted to be like darker. Like they would like go to the tanning booths or like go to the beach and want to lay out and get tan. And I'm sitting here like my mom's chasing me around the house with like lightning creams. Like, can you get an umbrella? And I'm like, no, I don't understand. But like I've like grown up with this. Like my mom has literally tried to always get me to use haldi paste, which is turmeric, and you like mash up turmeric and you mix it with like lime and other things, and it's supposed to lighten your skin. Like even at weddings, like in like there's a wedding ceremony, it's a haldi ceremony, and it's basically like 2 days before the wedding. There's a ceremony where you wear a yellow paste just to become lighter before your wedding. Like and it's like a thing. It's just like a function that happens with this wedding now. So you just become lighter. So we use turmeric. There's skin bleach. There's lightening creams. There's like soap washes. There's facial washes. There's
I use one
umbrellas.
on my face, but it's not because I want to be lighter.
Right, but
It's
like
because I wanna,
but that's what it is.
dark
Like in
complexion.
these like skin lighteners, like it's so and it's like, really it's just emphasis on women. Like guys can like guys like go to college and they'll go get jobs and it's okay if you don't want to bother them with like
Right.
trying to lighten their skin. But for us, it's like you guys are just sitting at home trying to learn how to cook and clean anyway, so you can just put some cream while you cook. Like
Yeah. It's
some
all
cream
about
on
the
your face
appearance
while you
of the
cook.
female.
Yeah, basically. And so that's what it is. But I mean, it's literally happened. And my sister, she's actually lighter than me, like a lot lighter. And she's just like, but she's like, I mean, she like still will use like the whitening cream, like the like haldi paste and stuff. Like she'll put turmeric on her face every once in a while and like do that. And I'm just kind of always telling my mom like, I refuse.
Did you ever bring it up to her and like, or ask her why she doesn't, or why?
No, she just does it because she's just like, it just makes my face like feel like fresher, cleaner, or whatever. I mean, that's what it also is too. Like haldi also like
So
clears
you're
like
stringent.
blackheads. Yeah, it's just like it just clears like other stuff too. But she just uses it for that. But I mean, my mom's always trying to get me to do it, and I'm just like, I'm still gonna go to the beach tomorrow, Mom.
Yeah.
Like, still gonna go.
I'll be under that sun.
Not that umbrella that you bought me, but But yeah, it's skin lighteners is super important to women in India, and they still practice it every day, and it's like terrible because I think it's terrible. Bleach isn't dangerous as hell. Like,
Not good.
you know?
Chlorine is not a good chemical for the
Right.
human body.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, like they say, like some of it's slavery, some of it's colonialism, some of it's like just other things, but it's a lot of. It says it's like a mix of pharmaceuticals with cosmetics, and like they have stuff that contains mercury and bleach and all these harmful things. And I think in Africa they made it illegal, but people still get it, and apparently a lot of it's made in Europe.
Right.
And so it's illegal in Europe, but it's not illegal when you export it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's awful because it's saying, okay, so our people, we need to keep them protected, so it's good, we're going to make it illegal here, but we don't care what happens over there because we're going to make money.
Yeah.
So, I think it was there, and there's a lot of, it's really cheap in Africa to get skin lighteners, and I think it said for, like, in Mexico, Mexican Americans, it's also pretty cheap there, and so when they especially come over to America, they try and find skin lighteners, and they like use a lot of pharmaceutical stuff, but they also do something that's supposed to be natural, but doesn't have all natural ingredients.
I think that's a big thing with the eco-feminist part, because we're treating other people's lives as if they're worthless to us because we're making money off of it. And that's the way I see it, is that this capitalist society that we live in is obviously not the way we need to go. Like,
but it goes back to also supply and demand. I mean, they're demanding it, that's why they're supplying it. So
Yeah.
it's not even just like they don't care about it, they're going to still give it to us. They're not going to give us with a warning label on top of it either. They're just going to give it to us because we're demanding for it.
but,
It's like other countries like India, Latin America, and all that stuff. They're asking.
like the little tubes, they have like that little black line or green line or a different color line.
Oh, yeah.
That tells you if it has certain chemicals in it. If it's like all chemicals, all natural, or whatever. The green line means natural, black means chemical, and there's another one, but I don't remember what it means. So,
It's on toothpaste for us, too.
right. There's fluorides in it, and I think that one's a blue line.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that they add into our things.
You can only swallow a pea-sized amount.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's lethal.
You can only have 0.9
Yeah.
parts per million or something like that, but we drink it every day because it's in our water.
But it just, I mean, it happens. And I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people who just say, like, I mean, the idea of becoming lighter is also tied in with, like, white power and, like, white privilege, and, like, if you look whiter, you'll be, like, treated better. That is also some of the belief, but then there's also the belief of, like, you're just prettier if you're lighter.
Right.
So, and that's also just, I guess, ties into that we associate better and pretty.
White is right.
Right, like, yeah, we just associate those two things, like, better and pretty and, like, white. Like, it's just associated in one thing, but that's just how it's been when I grow up.
Right.
Like, all my friends are dark skin like me. They all, I guess this is dark skin, but I'm just saying.
Right.
Right?
Understandable.
Yeah.
Why did Barrett sweet the juice? But whatever.
You said what?
The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Oh my.
I think it was like, they said it in Mexico, that the first thing that they ask is the color of the baby's skin and not.
Yeah.
Mhm. It said, the first question relatives often pose about a newborn is about his or her skin color, because there's like a social status rank. And in order to get, like, if you're darker, you're going to try to be lighter with, like, creams or, whatever. Or you're going to, if you're living in, like, a rural area, you're more likely to move to, like, United States or, like, a city to increase, like, your status. Or you're going to marry someone who's lighter skin than you, so at least your children are going to be
We'll have
lighter
that
status.
better thing.
Like, you're set for life if you, like, Like, my mom was so excited that my sister got him a white boyfriend. Like, I mean, not, like, super excited, but she was kind of like, okay, he wins. Like,
He wins.
He's there. I'll take him to dinner.
How do economic interests, multinationals, colorism, and gender ideology intersect to produce a need for altering the body towards whiteness? You kind of talked about that already.
It says, how do economic interests, colorism, and gender ideology intersect to produce a need for altering the body toward whiteness?
Yeah, we already talked about it. Basically, we introduced this thing that made people pay for it, and now we're just continuing the process or the cycle where we introduced it where it was, so that was back then, so now we're still paying for it, and it's only increasing in prices because we're bettering the technology. So I mean, I don't know.
It's like what we know here is what we don't know here, and so that's why they're able to be like, okay, we know that this is bad over here, but they don't know that because they're still believing in their little mythology of like, right is right, and the lighter you are, the prettier you are, and they're still falling into that. So it's just they're gonna stick with that.
And I feel like that's. And I feel like that's why like the internet's useful, because then we can actually get word out. Like we actually have connection with human beings all the way across the world.
Right.
Like, why don't we just inform?
It's interesting because they actually say they have online forums online
Right.
about like how to get lighter skin.
Right.
Like better ways
Naturally.
to use products.
Yeah. What was the website? IndianParenting.com.
They have a
something?
whole bunch of
What was it?
different
Yeah.
websites about forums, and
Yeah.
that's also like eBay is for like it
Indian
says
industry.com.
that
There we
There's
go.
India parenting too.
Oh, yeah,
World-class
yeah.
global
I was pretty sure I saw Indian parenting, and I was just like,
Yep.
please let my parents not ever find that website.
it says like the internet is like a tool, highway, and engine.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of connect different worlds together.
Mhm.
Because if you just put something on eBay, anyone can buy it. you
Right.
know, and then online forums, you can talk to someone in India while you're in the United States,
And being like, white people are so awesome here.
talk
It
about
like
it.
creates a global connectivity.
Right.
And
Word.
We got this.
collectively.
But I mean, even then, like, I mean, in like, I mean, what half of India, like a majority of it is just like they don't have internet access, so
Right.
they're sitting here going based off of whatever they can watch and like, you know, like televisions of the town, and they see like Aishwarya Rai, who was Miss Universe of like 2007. She is like the lightest Indian I've seen in life, right? And so her and like Katrina Kaif, like these are all the models and like Indian celebrities and actresses that they always portray in like every single advertisement, like Pepsi to like major, you know, marketing stuff. If they just target that, so like that's what you see on all of India is just like lighter skinned Indians that are, you know, they just happen to be going that way. It's not like they
Right.
did it through like skin creams or whatever. But I mean, like you should see the Olay commercials in India. Just saying, the Olay commercials and like all the like the Nivea, all the other skin cream type of things. They have just like a white girl there.
We should ask her to bring them up, like watch them in class to
I know.
help inform others.
I'll just send them to her in links and just, you know,
For real.
here you go.
You that Dr. Honeycutt?
I think it's just interesting because, like in the U.S., being tan, it's considered better because if you're tan, that means you're a bitch and you can go to like beaches and exotic locations and you're tanner. But in other places, being white means like you're just at a higher social status in your career, so you're most likely to get a job and be rich. But because I was born in Korea, but I moved here when I was like younger, and I went back like 2 summers ago, and I was like completely. It was like a total culture shock. Just in like, because here we have like tanning products and stuff like that. There, it's like I think Korea is like number 2 in consumer like for like whitening cosmetics, but it's not even like I'm pretty white, but I'm not like whitest there. And there's a lot of people will carry umbrellas in the summer, and when you go to like pools and stuff like that, no one's in their bathing suits. People are in their bathing suits, but they're wearing like sweaters over it, like caps, anything, and everything has at least about SPF like 30 minimum. Some has SPF 50 and on, just because like back, I think it was especially in like Asia, it's a lot of like agricultural stuff, and so they were like kings and queens, and they didn't have to go out and work, and so they were whiter. But farmers had to go and work, and so they were tan and dark because they were in the sun working, and so that culture kind of went along. So I feel like personally, it's not colonialism that much that affected it, but like imperialism kind of with
Like they associate color with labor.
right.
It was always
regardless of what word you want to use because of the hierarchy.
Right.
some power. Yeah.
But even like with economic interest, I think that's just like being white in other places like that or in here are going to get you more money. But then in the U.S. being tan is associated with being rich. So
Are there any places that it's like the opposite?
I
Like,
have no idea.
the darker you are, the better it is for you economically, socially, everything. Like,
Even here, like, you have to be dark, but you still have to be white.
yeah,
So it's like
you can be tan, but you gotta be
You have
white.
to be
and
tan,
Yeah.
kind of. You have to look like you just came off a beach, like a private island or something. But I think it's like you have to be that. But even in the U.S. and other places, it says in the article that like you still have to have perfect skin and like no dark spots and everything.
Right.
certain
But,
beauty to you.
right. So there's still like requirements on like how you're supposed to look, and you know, like cosmetic industries and pharmaceutical industries use that to. There's demand, so you provide
Yeah,
the goods.
it's all because of money. Money makes the world go round.
This is always really interesting to talk about because, like, I am very white. I am pale. And so I've always gotten made fun of because of being really, really white. Like, I cannot tan to save my life. Like, I'm red after being outside. And so it's interesting to see people desiring that kind of paleness. And it's just so flip-flopped. It's weird.
Yeah.
I feel like you can totally do like the outside looking in thing if you know, like if you were to like go to any of these countries. I feel like you'll be treated like differently. But
I thought you didn't do it with me.
Let's
They'll
go.
love you over there.
Because like one of
Especially
my
with color
friends,
contacts in, like you'd be like exotic.
yeah, I mean, because
Really bright.
I know
blue
people
eyes.
that
like
like
green contacts. And then
I know people who
Get
are
this one.
they're Korean but they're born here, and here it's better to be tan, and so they like go tanning, but then they go visit Korea, and like their family's like, why are you so dark? Like what? It's like, you know, and they like ridicule kind of like what happens. In
yeah, I got
Mexico
called
and
crispy
stuff
when I
like
was in India.
that. And so
Like,
she.
right? Well, we're not supposed to be eating over there either.
And so, I think,
Oh.
like, just like in the article, like, trans men have, like, the outside in thing.
Yeah.
I feel like other people can too, like, if
Right.
you've never experienced
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Makes sense.
How much longer do we have?
3 minutes and 15 seconds and counting.
Are we okay? Please talk. Can't answer.
What's the time?
37. Around 40 or 45 minutes, I think. I don't know. But we can still try. Still try.
Well, I was going to say that
Let's
speaking
talk
of
about
tanning thing, that it's funny that that's like associated with like being rich because from my perspective, like my grandma, I love her, but she's like if she sees a white person tanning, she's like they're trying to be black. So I think that's really interesting. It's like you're rich because from like our perspective, it's like you're trying to be like us.
It is like that for me too.
Honestly, I don't know why like people want to be tan. But then again, I know why I would like to be tan because like it makes your teeth look whiter. I just feel better.
Like I feel skinnier when I go to the beach.
You feel like there's like contours that
Yeah.
you've never had
Like
before.
my collarbones showing. Like I feel real skinny right now.
Yeah, I used to have like the same desire to be really tan, and I remember it was my sophomore year of high school. I was getting ready to go to prom, and my sister and mom were like, you realize you have to go tan. And I was kind of like, why do I need to do that? Like, I was starting to feel comfortable, like, people make fun of me, but I like my pale skin. And so my sister was like, no, you go on tanning. So she took me to the tanning bed. I think it went like 4 or 5 times, and my skin didn't change at all. And they were so upset about it. And I just did not understand why they were so upset that I couldn't be dark. It was just, it's weird to like have that much.
No, I'm an olive
emphasis on
skin, so in the summer
skin
I did it.
Okay.
I had someone come up to me and ask me, like I used to work at pencil twisters at the mall, and somebody was just like, oh, like, you're really tan, like, what do you do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do I do? And she was just like, like, how do you get your skin to be so tan? I just, like, literally listed every cancerous thing I could think of in my head. I was like, first I take canola oil, and then I pour it over my body, and I go sit out in the sun for 30 minutes, and then I go to a tanning booth for like 45 minutes to go. And then after the canola oil, I spray some spray tan on. Like, I was just sitting here, like, thinking of, like, everything that I could think of. And I'm just, like, really, like, and I'm sitting here telling her, I'm just, like, I was, like, this way. She was like, no, that's, like, a really good tan color. And I'm just, like, right.
Lady Gaga was born this way.
Right. I'm just like,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean that. But it, like, yeah, I'm just like, you know, and then that's the only encounter I've ever had. Somebody asked me like what I did to become tan. Like nobody's really asked me that, you know. But it's just like.
Right. I keep thinking about Korea. Sorry. Go ahead. No, you need to go.
I can't remember what magazine it was, but like they had like two celebrities put them against each other. I don't know if you know who Naira Vera is.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember the other actress, but she was a white actress, and they put them against each other, and they were like Naira's tan looked worse than the white actress, and they're like,
They're not
that's
the
her
same
skin
color.
tone.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you say? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
I was just thinking about the Korea thing because I have another friend from Korea. She's like, she moved from Korea to like Russia to Germany to here. She was just like everywhere. And she told me that Korea was very, very about cosmetics. Like they will get surgery to make their face look white or their nose look white.
Really?
Like, plastic surgery in Korea is really just common.
Yeah.
Like, the most common is eyes and then your nose.
Mhm.
And then they do a lot of, like, face,
Jaw work.
jaw work. Because, like, basically, like, Korean beauty is very similar to, like, Western beauty. But, like, so you have to be really pale and white. But you also have to have really big eyes and a really high nose and, like, a really tiny face. And that's, like, considered beautiful. And so a lot of women do that. And so, and it's, like, you have to have, like, perfect skin. So no pores, no anything. And so there's a lot of, even guys will go to dermatologists to get, like, there's a lot of, like, mole removal stuff that goes on. And it's literally, I went to the dermatologist just for, like, my acne. And they're like, oh, we're having a, get 2 moles removed, get another one for free sale.
Well, how many moles? Like,
And I was like, I like my moles, but it's just, and it says on here that, like, you're supposed to have, like, you know, perfect skin. That's, like, different cultures have different reasons, but I think, especially in, like, Japan and China and, like, Asia, it has to be kind of, like, perfect.
who's rocking
In a way. But it's just
Asia over here.
And I think you don't experience it until you go over there.
Right.
And, like, experience it for yourself. But it's just, like, just the culture and societal expectations to everything. Like, you were asked how do you get tan. If you go to India, they're going to be like, why are you
Why?
so tan?
No, it's just
Right.
why.
Yeah.
So,
Why? Why? They just
What are you
look like,
doing?
why? Like, they just look at you.
And I didn't know that, like, you know, like, if a black person sees, like, a white person tanning, that, like,
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
like
know
such
that.
a cool
I've never
perspective,
heard
though.
of
'cause
that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I was like, I'm not gonna ask you this time right? Because like, I don't want to make it seem like I was like,
Yeah, I've never heard that before, and so that was really interesting.
but
I
yeah.
wonder if, like, I don't know, does that, and I know people, like, I've heard, like if a black person's trying to, like, look, like, use skin lighteners or whatever, they're like, oh, she's trying to be white, or, like, I don't know, I've never understood it, maybe it's just because I'm, like, not black, but you know what I mean, like, you know, and I mean, because it's, like, it's, like, different colors, I guess,
Yeah.
like, you know, mocha and, like, caramel,
Right.
and it's, like, that, like,
You have that like golden glow to you.
yeah, I mean, I've
So,
heard, like, when I'm just, like, sitting in the library, like, people are talking, and it's like, oh, like, do you know, like, I don't know, like Emma, I don't know, like, so I don't know if her name's Emma, but they're like, oh, Emma, like, she's that, like, caramel-colored girl, and I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Why does
Yeah.
she,
This
there's
caramel
so
needed,
much
actually.
focus on, you know, that, like, being a certain, like, color, but I feel like if you're, like, Michael Jackson, oh, you're, like, trying to be white, but if you're, like, like, Beyonce colored, then you're good.
because you still have your like ethnicity,
Right.
Right.
So,
like so you still have your dignity
Right.
with that ethnicity.
So,
It's
yeah,
just,
right. And then even, like, when people, like, try tanning, it's like you can look, like, exotic, or you can look orange and fake.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it's
God,
like there's
I
so
know.
many little lines, and it's just
But see, why is orange here?
yeah, orange
Good.
ain't nowhere else.
Yeah, like why
Orange
does it
ain't
go
no-
I
to?
don't get the orange thing.
I don't get the orange thing either.
It's really
like the
interesting.
Jersey Shore
Because
orange
those-
thing
Yeah.
that
See, I don't
Nikki and JWoww were doing for a
like.
while.
But do you know people like that? Like I've only ever seen it
I've
on
only
reality.
seen-
I've known
there's-
people who
Yeah, there's a
in
girl
high
I
school.
work with, she does it.
It's like all if you could get to that orange in my high school, it's because you were like rich.
Yeah,
Like,
you got money to spend.
yeah. you can afford the spray tan all the time. And so it was just, I kept waiting for them to like get out of their seat and like the whole back of their chair be like streaked with
Ew.
spray
It's
tan.
like you ready to splash some water.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have like that. I have like a normal orange glow. Like that's just my
Psycho.
color. But like I don't know. I think it's from like baseball when I was little. I was like on the orange dirt fields. And it just reflect on you.
It's clay, man. It's clay from the fields.
Ridiculous.
I don't know.
I remember that mom. I don't know what happened to her, but she tanned forever.
Leather, like,
Oh yeah, and then she tried to tan her kid.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them.
I think the kid died, didn't it?
I have no idea.
No.
I'm not gonna chime in. 'cause
Wrong
I have no
article.
idea.
Wrong
Like here,
article.
there's a lot of like contour, like bronzer to make yourself look tanner.
Yeah.
I feel like in these other places that would be completely unheard of because they use so much skin lighters.
I know.
I was hanging out with friends yesterday, and they were practicing. Like she just bought some like $70-something worth of makeup, and was practicing
Contour.
contouring.
I know.
I was like,
What are you doing?
why?
Do you know how much like hours it takes to contour?
Right? And they were like, you got to start here, and you got to wipe up, and then for the light one, you got to wipe it down. I was like, why does that matter? I was like, why are you doing all of
It's
this?
like so much culture stuff.
Yeah, and then on the
so
nose
it's
it's
ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
swoosh it
It's
well
not.
enough to get
Yeah,
your
it's not.
cheekbones.
It's not down or up on nose. It's.
See, there's like, this is like a science.
It's an
I know.
art form, that's for sure. Like,
Yeah.
you can't deny that, but it's completely ridiculous.
It's just sort of socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
like
that's
it
my
when we
chubby
just
cheeks.
accept people for who they are.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, that, they say, like, in America, it used to be, like, going outside and tanning or tanning beds. Then after the whole skin cancer thing, now it's, like, frowned upon, but you're still expected to be tan,
Yeah.
Right.
which is why the
The
spray
orange
tanning
Mhm.
is getting, like, so popular.
Yeah.
And that's a radiation.
Yeah, they use UV light.
UV light. Like the same thing that do when you get gel nails or whatever.
Okie dokie.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Bye.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.